part of Open Global. Open Global is a nonprofit organization. It started in, is it okay? Right. Started in 1998 in Boston, Massachusetts, where a group of Pakistanis decided, how do we foster and create a community around entrepreneurship and professionals? And you fast forward now, we're in 2023, we have about 15 regional chapters across Pakistan, United States, and the UK, and growing. We have over 2,000 plus members that are part of the broader open network. And we do many meetups. There are mentor sessions that we do, meetups, conferences. We do over 300 a year across all the regional chapters. I'm really excited about what we're doing here at Open Seattle. You know, one of the things that I really think we need to do is bring a community together around entrepreneurship, celebrate entrepreneurship, but at the same time, allow access to professionals. And so within our network today, we have founders, we have entrepreneurs, professionals, scientists, students, as well as social entrepreneurs, right? And I can't think of any other better platform than Open. Even though our heritage and our roots go back to Pakistan, we believe that entrepreneurship has no boundaries. In fact, it's limitless. And so whether you want to start an AI company, you want to do something in manufacturing, if you want to sell pakode and samosa, I think that's entrepreneurship, right? And we have people in our community too that have food businesses, whether they're restaurants and food trucks. Lariada, you know, I had to do a little plug for you all there. We celebrate entrepreneurship. You know, it's funny, when I was young and I was figuring out what I wanted to do as far as my career goes, in college, I was naturally a pre-med major. But my dreams of becoming a doctor ended after I got a C in organic chemistry. So, you know, I was discussing with my mom, well, what should I do? I was like, you know, I sort of like fashion. So why don't I get into fashion? And she looked at me and said, there's Zibanagit. And then I love fashion, you know, and if I stuck to my guns, you know, I would probably have maybe a fashion line. But no, I think at the end of the day, what excites me about what we're doing at Open is we're creating a platform for ourselves, but actually future generations. And one of the things that we want to do is actually bring students and kids to this platform so they can see entrepreneurship at its best, right? I will turn it over to Arif, who's also a good friend and a person that I met 3 years ago. He's an entrepreneur at heart. Yeah, he is the co-founder of LAM. He founded LAM with his wife, Sahar, and brother Hassan? Amr, yes, Amr. And an amazing thing that they're doing at LAM, which is, you know, the fashion industry is a $40 billion business in Pakistan, but they're just in the early days of defining what that means to be online. And I think LAM is at the forefront of that. So I'm really excited about today. We will have iftar after the event. So for those of you that are fasting and want to break the iftar with us, we'll have some food. But I understand it's the last 10 days and maybe some of you want to go back home. So we won't be offended if you go back home and have iftar too. But we would love it if you stay here with us. So without further ado, I'll turn it over to Arif, and then he will introduce our speaker. And I look forward to the talk. Thank you for coming.
Cool. Cool. Awesome. You guys here can hear me, right? Yes, Hassan, come over. It's such a pleasure to bring Hassan to Seattle. We started working with Hassan, like I think about a year or so ago in collaboration. I met Hassan at one event where he was the moderator and I was one of the panelists. So tables have turned very quickly. Yes, they have. And so when we started working with Hassan, I think we realized like how creative he is and what kind of like great brand and with values that he has built. So when he talked to me that he's coming to US, I was like, you have to come meet this amazing community of Seattle. He was grateful enough to accept this invite from Dom and Open Seattle. So thank you so much. My pleasure. And because the topic of the talk, and when we discussed it and we wanted to see like what is the topic that we're going to discuss with this community, is that we felt that many people in this room don't know, but Hassan has been at it for close to 3 decades.
30 years in March.
Yes, 30 years in March. So he has built a brand that has lived like 3 decades, and it's been one of the most popular, iconic fashion So I wanted to start with there, and I'm obviously like want to start there. How did the brand start and your journey from the get-go? And then I want to come about building the brand on top of that.
First, can everyone hear me? Is this mic on?
Can you get me?
Yeah, sure.
I think you have to turn on the.
Now,
This one should also be.
I, yes. Oh. That mic. There you go, yeah. Is it audible? Yes, okay. Firstly, assalamu alaikum everyone. It is lovely to be here. Seattle has, I've grown up here in the United States when I was very, very young. And I've seen a lot of the United States because I aspire to see as much of the world as I possibly can to be able to learn. I think the more you see, the more you learn. But I've never had the opportunity to come to Seattle. So when I was given this invitation, I immediately said yes. Of course, I had a little bit of a selfish reason. My sister Sana lives here too, my younger cousin. But what really excites me about Seattle is what I hear about, the endless possibilities and a land where new technologies and advancement happen that touch all of our lives on a daily basis. So thank you for having me. Before I even begin on this, how how the brand has survived and what it has done. Yesterday, we had a little bit of a meet and greet, and I was very happy to have met some really wonderful people. And there was someone in passing had said a comment which kind of stuck with me because it was something that had stuck with me even when I was young, that in a country like Pakistan, to survive, to thrive, you need to have either a very big last name, powerful parents, or money. I feel it's important to address that because it's something that I speak about often in schools and in universities and spaces where I go and give motivational talks or TED talks or etc. Because I think that's a thing that is hampering the growth of Pakistan. And I think it's important for us to realize that I don't think that's true. My story didn't start off as a fashion designer. I wanted to share a little bit of my personal life because I think I will also give you a deeper understanding of what the brand is about. And it's not where I intended to start, but I will start. I come from a single parent family. My journey started with, as often with it is with single parent families, disruptive and a little unfunctional, but my mother put the fun back in functional, so I guess that was okay. And we grew up here with a very hardworking mother who spent about a good 18, 19 hours in her day working perhaps 3 or 4 jobs to be able to bring us up, which is amazing because I understood the value of work, but I also understood the value of being alone. Being alone at home and understanding that the parent is always gone, you become incredibly observant of people because people are completely not so observant of you. And it is these power of observations that I held on very tightly. At the age of, until the age of 16, I remained in the United States and I survived as one does as a brown kid in the United States of America, where you're looking for identity and you're looking for a certain sense of yourself, but the country is so much larger than you are and the power is so much larger than you are, you can get swept away. At 16, when I went back home to Pakistan, I didn't think necessarily that it was home. I thought that we had come to a new place. I didn't speak the language. I'd never spoken the language with a mom working most of the day. And I think we met perhaps once a week if I was lucky. Otherwise, I was pretty independent. I had also started working at the age of 12. By the age of 14, I was making enough money to be able to put myself through school. And when I came back to Pakistan, even though we had come just for a couple of days, but ended up getting stuck there. My father was a politician, it's a long story. I started working. I knew that the importance of having to earn your money, being independent, But as like life, it is funny that it gives you trials and tribulations, and Allah is kind and merciful, but reminds us of our ability to understand how small a speck we are and tests you. So at the age of 69, I ended up having a car accident. Now back in Pakistan, unable to speak the language, taken away from home that was United States, being around cousins and family who I knew nothing of, and they knew nothing of me, and I was clearly an anomaly. Blonde streaks in my hair and walking around thinking, what is this language that they all speak? And the car accident would leave me blind in both my eyes. When hope is kind of taken away from you, it is despair that you fall into. When I was in that state for some time, I started having different surgeries and to get my eyesight back. And when I got my eyesight back, it was a little bit of a shock because I didn't realize that I hadn't just lost my eyes, I had also lost most of my face. I had over 600 stitches on my face, and I had now suddenly started understanding why my friends who would come and see me and hang out with me would call me Frankie, that it was Frankenstein for short. People can be cruel. But I think it's the cruelty in all of these things that actually make you strong. Why I say all of these things while I continue my story is that such cruelties happen to people on a daily basis in a country like Pakistan, when you don't have the backing and you don't have the support. And we as ourselves, as people, can be cruel. It makes people very strong, a certain sense of strength that I think we often undermine that exists in Pakistan and in amongst Pakistanis. When I got my sight back, I spoke to my mom, being the only son of a very hardworking woman and a very big political family. It was almost certain and destined, as with all children in our community, a doctor hoga, ya lawyer hoga, ya engineer hoga, preferably engineer hoga, or ya hamari family mein politics mein jayega. I had been given this new life. I started seeing things that I'd never seen before. My biggest joy was when my mother or someone would feed me and I would have food off the chamcha and that light would fall on the spoon. It was more joy to me than seeing anything else in my life. I started to see color for the first time. And the first color I saw for some time, for a long time, was red. So the only thing my eyes could really pick out. Everyone around me would wear red. If anyone follows my collection, they know that 90% of my collections are usually in red. It's the color of life for me. And I was given this new opportunity, I think, not just for living, but also to want to live and breathe in a space of beautiful things. And I spoke to my mother, just like you had, that I want to go into fashion. I've been given this opportunity. I can't spend the rest of my life sitting behind a desk and pretending to like what I do and live my life, because I feel like this will be the ends. My life can't be a means to an end. My life has to be lived. And this is what I want to do. Please understand that at that time, there was no design industry. We had 3, maybe 4 magazines. There was She Magazine, Mag, and there was a Herald magazine, which was kind enough to every now and then put a picture of some outfit if they weren't talking about some politician, as is the norm in Pakistan. But I still wanted to do it. So I went, and my journey started in fashion as a fluke. I went to audition. I spoke to my friend's mother, who was a therapist, and she said, why don't you go and live out your dream? Go see what happens with this fashion business. So there was a fashion show happening. It was the first time a big show was happening in Lahore, and this was 1994. And I was 17, perhaps 18. And I went to audition for it. And as my friend's mom, who's a very important therapist, a huge advisor at the Harvard Medical School as well, and a smart woman who said that you must face your fears by standing up. Perhaps one of the best advices I ever got. So I went and I auditioned. And at this show, as of course I knew that they looked at me fearful, and empathy is hard to find in our people sometimes, but sympathy is very, very close to our heart. And I was immediately put back to the, not just to the backstage, but the behind the stage to pin outfits and be the one assisting in the back. But I go back to the space where I said I was an observer. As a young kid, when you're young and you observe, you notice people, you notice their body languages, you see where they're interested, where their head is tilting forward, where their head is tilting back. where their ego is massaged and they're wanting to listen, and where they're no, I'm not interested at all. And I always use those powers of observation to be able to understand what to do better. And I realized that this director who was directing the show wasn't really getting the attention of the one designer whose clothes he was directing. The designer happened to be a very incredibly famous and someone who's a mentor to me, Neelofer Shahid. And I walked up to her with a paper and pencil. Those who have worked with me know I'm always carrying a paper and pencil when I'm working, because I think constantly. And I came up with these ideas. And I showed them to her and I said, look, your show can look like this. I had never seen a show. I had never gone to a show, but I knew what a presentation should be. And the last day, from helper, I ended up becoming the director of the show. And the next day, there was a new newspaper that had just come out called The News, Sheheryar Yasin's newspaper. And in that, they had a review of the show. And I went and showed it to my mom. And on the review, it said, Hassan Jahangir will be the next big thing in fashion. And I showed it to my mother, and my mom said, this is amazing, but they got their name wrong. And that day, I promised her that until there's blood in my veins, Mom, everyone will know my name. Fashion will know my name. And I went to fashion school. A fashion school journey was difficult. My mom's an educationalist. My nana was an educationalist. Our grandmother, who in the 1930s, who had gone to great colleges, was an educationalist. And we came from a family of education. Education, not because we were sophisticated and smart, education because it was considered the right thing to do. Educate your young and they will understand the world better. So my mother asked me that you can't be a lawyer without educating yourself. You can't be a doctor without educating yourself. How are you going to be this Darzi without educating yourself? How is this going to happen? So I said, well, I'll go to fashion school. Fashion school was tough. I was there for 4 years. And at that time, 17,000 rupees a month tuition fee seemed like an eternity. How am I going to do that? So I used to work. I worked as a cashier at a grocery store. I used to pick up bricks at a construction site and paint houses and teach. And I used to also work at a leather factory, gluing leather together. And that job of mine used to be from 9 p.m. till 3 a.m. And I used to smell so much glue during that time that I would come to school and I would often be either vomiting. And my teachers were all most concerned that I was using some kind of substance or the other. But I couldn't tell anyone I was working because working wasn't allowed. Fast forward, I was the valedictorian of my college, did very well, and then came to business. This is where the story for mine begins. My journey to here didn't have support of, you got this, you're some big guy's kid, or you got this because you got money, or you got this because this is the land of opportunity. People weren't telling me that. I was finding that. And when I started work, it was a difficult space. I had now become famous as HSY, the choreographer, and HSY, the designer, wasn't wanted. I went to Neelofer Shahid, and I love her very much, and to every other big designer that there was, but no one was hiring me. And now, after getting my sister married, finishing my college, I had 2,500 rupees left in my bank, which at that time was $50 US. And with that, I went and bought a sewing machine, some thread, didn't have money for fabric. My mother was in school. I cut up her curtains, her sheets, and the dining table cloth. And I put together 5 outfits. I had a friend who wanted to model. She was a lovely girl. Really felt like she had the potential. No one was giving her any attention. Her name was Iman Ali. I called her up and we did a shoot. Today, HSY is a debt-free, zero investor, zero partner company that McKinsey just said is one of the most recognized brands in South Asia. 2,500 rupees in a dream. And that's what HSY is. And that's who I am.
It's so inspiring, and I'm glad you're sharing the story because some of the things you brought up, I'm also going to know them for the first time. One thing that I would love to know is that this longevity of starting out, great inspiring story. What really worked out in this 3 decades? What are the things what were the values you had in mind in the starting the brand? What?
Okay.
No.
I'll speak without a mic.
Okay, I think that's what
Okay.
we can give you the other mic if you want.
You want it?
No, I think I'll, everybody can hear me, right?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. So what would you call out as the most important things that have worked out in terms of brand identity? And what were the things that you had in mind 3 decades ago versus today in terms of brand identity that you want people to perceive or you want people to maintain?
Branding is very close to my heart. It's something that I did not go to school for. I don't have any education in management or business development. But the one understanding that I did have was of authenticity. And I knew from the get-go that whatever I do, if I make a brand or if I do any kind of business, I must tell a story that I can authentically tell over and over again. And that story must be authentic to me. And who I am is very much the following. I'm an obnoxiously die-hard patriotic person. So my first identity is Pakistan. For me, it begins and ends in Pakistan. I'm also, because of that, a big believer that without our heritage and culture, we're nothing. Something that we often forget, our culture, our roots, our embroideries, our tankas, our history. We must retain those. And see, I was brought up by, like I said, not just my mother, but my sister, 2 incredible women. So family moral ethic values that Pakistan holds were also very important. Whenever I've done an ad campaign, a soundbite of HSY, it has been that. I find that when you're authentically connected to the story that you're telling and authentically connected to the product that you're selling within that story, people will listen. Brands have come in my space who I've seen come and go and come and go and come and go. Fashion is a very unforgiving space. You can be incredibly successful and find that you're completely unsuccessful the next year because someone who has a lot more money than you or a lot more creativity than you or a husband who's bored and wants you to be out of the house and wants you to be a designer, has pumped a lot of money in you, will come and be the next big thing. And the audience is often fickle and not necessarily the most loyal if the story is not theirs. But if the story is theirs, if they can connect to that story, they will come back. And besides the story, you've got to put your money where your mouth is, and you've got to be able to deliver on the promise that you have said that you will. The best quality, the best embroidery, and the most detail-oriented experience that you can give them. Now, in my business, it's difficult to do that constantly because a red outfit doesn't change. I mean, you've seen styles in the bridal designs. आजकल designers will do anything. कभी बतख लगा देंगे, कभी कोई परिंदा आ जाएगा, नीचे से पर निकल आएंगे, ये हो जाएगा, वो हो जाएगा. But culturally, that's not us. A wedding has never been about a girl or a boy in our family, in our country. A wedding is about 2 families coming together. At that time, it's not what the girl is wearing herself and her 20 Instagram friends. I tell the girls even now, I know it doesn't sound very woke, but it makes no difference. What matters to us is what about us think. What matters to us is what the girls' sas and susar think, because they're bringing someone home to their family. What matters to the girl side is that the girl that they've raised, regardless of what her career and education is, she's about to go to someone else's family. When you understand these points and you can connect them by creating something that makes her look like a Shahzadi and also empowers her by making her feel that her decisions are also important, and you're speaking the language which is authentically yours, people will keep coming back. And that is the one thing that we have retained and tried to do constantly. In a space where in COVID, all the brands started shutting down, I worked on that kind of strategy more than ever. I remember COVID had happened, it was 23rd March, everyone's businesses were shutting down. All my other designer friends were getting panicked and everyone was suddenly thinking like, oh, ab to 15 lakh ki jewelry nahi karne, ab to 2 lakh ki jaldi se banana shuru karo, panic ho gayi. And I thought, no, that can't happen. Even as the world is coming to an end, Pakistan has seen the world come to an end so many times, and even COVID is no match. We fight war literally every single day. I mean, it's in our blood. But the one thing that will never stop, शादियां नहीं रुकेंगी. या बेटी हाथ से चली जाएगी, ये लड़का बिगड़ जाएगा. शादियां हो रही हैं. And I knew this was going to happen. So I thought, okay, what do? We reach out to our clients and we give them that space that they've always known in a place of fear and constant confusion and the world saying everything is coming to an end, which I'm sure it was, but let's face it, our news media tends to make everything so much worse than it is. We were all fearful. In a space of fear, and in a space of angst, and a fear of lack of hope, you have to provide exactly that. And that's exactly what I wanted my brand to represent all along. It was a place where you came home, where you felt safe, where you understood that cultures and traditions were not going to change. We weren't certainly going to give you a white dress with a veil and say that, yeah, that's a cool look to do, because that's not part of our culture. I wasn't necessarily going to start aping the West and say, let's go with a short mini dress and this, that, the other. My rule has always been, if my mother can't wear it, my sister can't wear it, how can another girl's mother or sister wear it? How? It's not part of my cultural thread. I'm a Muslim Pakistani, and that is what is my first priority. So I opened my business up to my clients at home. I started passing out hazmat suits because I knew shadiyan to honi hai. And they came. And because of steps that we have taken to constantly reset ourselves, tell an authentic story, and at that time the authenticity was fear, and then you have to tell the story of, if there is fear, we are hope. If there's despair, we can help. If you can constantly keep branding yourself in a way that they understand, your sales too, like ours at COVID, went X4. COVID made me rich. I think that's one of the most important things I've understood about branding. To constantly reassess and understand what is the story that is being told, and it's the story that is yours, truly the story that is also your clients, and to be able to tell that story.
Amazing. And I think, yeah, love being authentic. I think this is what we all try to do in the products. We all try to be authentic. Hassan, like I wanna take from HSY towards more Pakistani fashion industry.
Right.
If you look at last 3 decades, how would you say that has evolved? And my follow-up on top of that is that because we live in a very diverse community here, is that we have a lot of Pakistanis and Indians where we think there is food similarity. I would love to understand from your eyes, how do you see Pakistani fashion being different from other places?
I'll take the second part of the question first. With all due respect to India, I think Pakistan and India's fashion is tremendously different, because even though we are similar, we are very different. Our understanding of color, of modesty, stems from not just borders, but it stems from religion. And it stems from our ability to want to or not want to show the kind of pomp or color that perhaps our neighboring country does. I don't say that we should criticize the difference, but I think we should also celebrate the difference. And in doing so, whenever I've done any kind of work for my own collection, I've always seen what would be right for people on this side of the border. You'll find that a lot of people from our side of the border like wearing clothes from the other side of the border, and vice versa, because people like something that is unique and different to them as well. But Pakistani fashion is also very different, not just because of its color, it's also because of its silhouette and form. There's beauty in modesty. There's beauty in being mysterious. Everything doesn't necessarily need to be out. And lastly, embroidery. Embroidery really comes, the kind of embroideries that happen in South Asia, really come from the space that was inhabited by the Mughals. And during the time of partition, a lot of the embroiderers actually came to our side of the country. And though perhaps not given the right kind of business sensibility to be able to thrive, our embroideries, and I'm very proud to say it, and I say it all the time, are far superior, are far more detailed, are far more steeped in heritage and history. हमारे आजकल जो आप टांके जो आप देख रहे हैं जो बनते हैं, ये नहीं कहूँगा कि कहाँ मगर बन रहे हैं काफी जगहों पे, वो तो भूलते जा रहे हैं कि हमारे टांकों के अंदर कहानी कितनी है. नक्शी घंटा एक एम्ब्रॉयडरी हो गई, they call it French knots, but people get these are small little things that come from different spaces that were representative of their region. Multan ki embroidery Gilgit se bilkul farak hai. Bahawal ki embroidery Lahore ki embroidery se bilkul farak hai. Yahi to celebrations and that make Pakistan so rich. I think Pakistan's biggest strength is its diversity. And I think in fashion too, our biggest strength is our diversity in the embroideries and the colors that we have. Second question, 30 years. 30 years में पूरी दुनिया बदल गई है. हम लोग तो जब shoots किया करते थे तो we were going to explain to the magazine editor कि जी cover बनाना किस तरह है और logo किस तरह लिखना है. Even when social media was starting, there was no industry. I remember going and speaking to the government, different government agencies when we used to put up fashion shows, because fashion show होते नहीं थे, और अगर होते थे तो they were a source of entertainment. It was no business. But we were lucky because a bunch of us, when we had started, and I think there was only 4 or 5 of us in Lahore who had started fashion. We were one of the first batches of then the fashion school. It was myself, Maria B was my senior, Kamya Rukni, Maheen Kardar, Nilofer Shahid. And in Karachi, there were Sana Safi and Rizwan and Baddo Ahmad. When we would all sit together, we would understand that we need to put together a business of fashion. But more than that, there was a little problem coming up for Pakistan. Pakistan was sitting very happy and elated on a quota system that helped its country strive and thrive. But those are 5 mein wo quota system khatam ho gaya, and we had to fight with the rest of the world. And our textile sector was in trouble. So fashion schools were not being put up to create designers. Koi hamare government mein itna koi nahi soch raha tha ki designers banenge. God forbid aap kuch bhi ban jaye, aapko sar kaat denge. मगर डिजाइनर्स को बनाना नहीं चाह रहा था, वो बना रहे थे क्योंकि वैल्यू एडिशन करके हमारी टेक्सटाइल इंडस्ट्री बच जाए. तो क्योंकि हमारी इंडस्ट्री ज्यादातर चलती है थ्रू स्पीकिंग इन उर्दू, राइट, क्योंकि हमारी ज्यादातर इंडस्ट्रियां ही चलती हैं सेट सिस्टम से, तो सेट के साथ डिजाइनर कोई जोड़ी बन नहीं रही थी, जो सिनर्जी बड़ी जरूरी थी. या सेट की चलती थी या उनकी बीवी की, क्योंकि वो भी तो डिजाइनर होंगे, और या डिजाइनर की थी क्योंकि वो एम्प्लॉय है तो उसकी कहाँ चलनी थी. तो वो synergy बन नहीं सकी. तो designers became very sharp to the idea that wait a second, we might not be able to do this synergy for the rest of the world, but I have about 220 million potential clients sitting in my own country, and about 1 billion right across the border who also like my clothes. So forget the synergy. There's a local market here, which is a very important understanding for an entrepreneur to really be successful. How to really capture his local market before he goes global. This was something that came amongst us in a space very, very quickly. Look, besides the fact that I am incredibly blessed by Allah, I am also incredibly lucky that I was at the right time, at the right place. When we were starting, we wanted to build industries, and there was no precedence. There was no branding, like blue rules, and Lums wasn't teaching us branding on design. Jo Lums za raha tha, wo bachcha uski angrezi zaat hoti thi, hum bol rahe the uske saath. We had no idea. I mean, these guys were, you know what I mean. And they were MBAs, and we were like, we were Darzi's. No one was listening to us. We were knocking on their door, and they're like, we're not interested in you. We're interested in telecom. So what were we going to do? So we were making up our rules and regulations ourselves, but we had the finger on the pulse because we were speaking to the client and the people directly. We were understanding how to build this industry. There were no subsidiaries on fashion. There were no subsidiaries on textile. There was no subsidiaries on. We were having the same electric problems. We were running the same generators, and we were trying to make something out of nothing. But we had that passion, and there was an ambition that knew no end. Now Pakistan is at a place where our design and brands are seen in many parts of the world that they were never seen before. I just recently went and dressed Emmy and Tony winner Billy Porter. For him to come to a place like Pakistan to order clothes is phenomenal. Our next door neighbors own stars come and order clothes from us. We have brands like Khadi and Sapphire that have taken the world by storm. And now there are other big boys playing in the market, like a gentleman called Arif and his company Lam, who are bringing our very brands that we have worked hard to develop to the rest of the world. I believe that there is potentially a huge hunger for identity. I complain a little about this, so I don't know if everyone will appreciate this. I say that when India goes and an Indian goes elsewhere, he takes India with him. When a Chinese person goes from China and comes here, he brings China with him. We in Pakistanis don't bring Pakistan with us somehow. We tend not to want to bring Pakistan with us. We are almost ashamed to even say, I've heard so many Pakistanis say, well, I'm from Dubai. No, you're not. You lived there for 3 years. No, you're not from there. Our aim and my aim is to bring and why I wanted to work with you and why we are where we are, because I think you and I share the same thing. we are the representatives, we are the ambassadors of a country that often does not have ambassadors. Spoken in life, forget what Fox says. What we ourselves say about our own nation sometimes can be so destructive for our own image. We discuss our politics ad nauseum, literally everywhere we go, not realizing that the effects it has on the very space that Pakistan occupies. I think the narrative needs to change, and that is why I want to do and keep doing the things that we do. Pakistan is a rich nation, a nation of so much incredible artistic strength. Our workers are tremendous. Our ability to create art is outrageous. Some of the best artists in the world now are hailing from Pakistan, from Shahzad Sikandar to Rashid Rana. They're destroying it in the world of art. In the world of fashion, also, what we are creating, no one else is. We have now created an industry within Pakistan that can sustain itself. Even COVID did not shut down brands, it only just helped them adapt. And we as Pakistanis are so good at adapting. You can give us a democracy, or you can give us a dictatorship, or you can give us complete chaos, and we will survive. We know how to survive. Now that we've survived in our space, I feel it is time, and one of the main reasons I'm here also, it is time not just for yourself, who you're doing an incredible initiative, and I hope and pray that it really works. It is time for all of us to now start speaking of Pakistan in that way, a country of hope and of great potential. Our textile, if you come and see and compare our textiles with that of the region, our ability to do surface and our ability to cut and understand color, it is unique. It is like unlike anyone else. We just need the right ambassadors, and we need the right narrative. Because what is branding? What is life? It is a story you tell. We have to choose the right story.
Yeah, I think I want to echo on that part. When in law we started shipping, we have shipped products to more than 100 countries. There is always that message we get for this Pakistani fashion or this Pakistani design. It's so authentic and so different that people across the world. I want to go to the, I mean, you briefly called out, I want to go to your last collection, which you launched, and you launched it on Women's Day.
Yes.
Tell us the story about it. What was the message? Why Women's Day?
So I make very expensive clothes. Everyone tells me this all the time. Some people even ferociously hold me up in an airport by my shirt. Says, "Bade महंगे कपड़े बनाते हैं आप." And I agree, I do. But when this is my 29th year going into my 30 years in fashion. I know, I only look 32, it's true. I keep lights on my face like this all the time. When we were coming into our 29th year, I decided that what is it that I stood for? And I always thought that I stand for a person who hails from a beautiful country like Pakistan. But what have I done to really make that narrative happen? And what is the other thing that I stand for? I stand for being an empowered son of a very incredible woman. So I wanted to dedicate this year on those two things, family values and Pakistan. And when I thought of that, the only thing that came to my mind was, again, the very women who bind us, our mothers and our sisters and our bhabis and our daughters. They are truly the glue that binds us and keeps us together. So I decided to call this collection Rihanna, which is my mother's name. My mother, mashallah, just turned 80. If you see her, she will out-talk you, she will outsmart you, and she will tell you politics like it. She'll remind you, Nani, aap kara denge aapko. बहुत पढ़ती हैं, कोई ऐसे गजल नहीं है जिसको नहीं जानती, जो ऐसा कोई पोएट नहीं है जिससे नहीं मिली, कोई ऐसा पॉलिटिशियन नहीं है जिससे बैठ के उन्हें गुफ्तगू करके उनको तहस नहस नहीं की. She's a smart woman. But she's the woman who raised a son who is now working for the country. And like that, there are many other women out there who are also raising the next HSY, the next Imran Khan, the next this, that, the other. There are women out there working hard, but we're not looking at them. We're not looking at them. And in this new crippling economy, we're not looking at them at all. We're just looking for that next big buck. I met Arif. We were at my friend Qasim Kusuri's school, and I was moderating, and he spoke, and I was
That's why
I meet a lot of people in my day, and I am usually friendly, though not very easily impressed. I was impressed with Arif, and I thought, okay, I have a vision and a story to tell, and he has the vehicle to be able to tell it. Let's do it there. So we made a collection of 8 outfits representing one of each decade from my mother's life, and one of each decade of many women's lives. And I understood that there are women out there right now in Pakistan who can't afford ghee, and who can't afford oil, and who can't afford chawal, and who can't afford dal, but kya hona hai? Shaadiyan honi. Shaadiyan honi hai. Jo marzi hoti shaadiyan honi hai, our expectation hai. So why not make a collection where we make clothes that could, for the rich, be worn as formals, but those people would have a substitute for a bridal, and the same outfit I would sell for 15 to 20 lakhs, I would sell it under 50,000, from 22,000 to 50,000. And who better tell the story of a woman than women? So we chose 4 women to tell the story. 4 women who are forces in themselves, women who have the ability and the guts to be able to stand up and pass their opinion without fear. Women like Hadika Kayani, who can raise a child on her own and not worry about who's going to question her, and be a singer and an actor and let women know that dreams are possible at any age. A woman like Sabah Kamar, who is beautiful and talented, but has the ability to go and raise her voice about what atrocities are happening to other women and not fear what her fan base will and will not say. A woman like Sarwar Gilani, who has the ability to play roles that other women will not play in spaces other people will not do, and still do it while raising children, talking about children, and being a representative for the unprivileged at Special Olympics. And Sajal, the one person that we have who is now standing and taking us to an international platform while still retaining her Pakistaniyat. वो cool नहीं बन रही, उसने एली साहब का ड्रेस पहन के किसी award show पे, she's not standing there, she's wearing our clothes, she's representing us, she's हमें अपना रही है. These women were telling stories about other women. The sales and the numbers, he's smiling, resonate because we're telling an authentic story. And that's what we decided to do. We did 8 designs, and because they were so successful, not just in the feedback of what the clients thought, the client is sensitive today. And they have one thing that we never had in our time, which is a keyboard and a smartphone. And you mess up with them and they will let you know, as will their friends, and some hashtags, which will cancel you. But you treat them right, and right as in fair, not right as in sing a song that they want to hear. Sing the real song. Tell them the real story. Understand that they authentically connect to them, and they will respond to. So our strength has always been that I think that I have always tried to tell a story that I know. And I guess I'm lucky because I have family that never lets me forget that my mother reminds me that of every morning. She's like, over now, there's you. एक चीज हम भूल जाते हैं अपनी businesses में, अपनी life में, अपनी success में. Success is dizzying. It might not seem a big thing to you guys who have done so well here in the United States, but in Pakistan, when I go out, I know I'm successful. The kind of respect that Allah has bestowed me on, I know that it is a big deal. But humility, unfortunately, is something that is dying. And when one remains humble, one listens. Because when you listen, you understand the plight and what's happening around you. And if you can put that into your marketing, what I was telling for you, for Lam, companies here like Amazon, like Apple, and I'm talking about the companies whose stories I'm listening to. I can say Microsoft because I sometimes don't hear their story in the same way. They connect to you. They connect to your soul. They make you feel like you're part of their journey. Those brands always do well. When a brand tends to disfranchise the very people that it's selling to, I don't think even the best of the product will survive. You've got to connect to it. You don't just go to a store and pick up a toothpaste and say, yeah, I like this name, I think I'll go with it. Someone has told you the story of that toothpaste, what it can do and how it can connect to you. Marketing and branding are so crucial. You could be selling a Rolls Royce, but you do a crap ad and your ad's good. Your Rolls Royce is not going to sell. Rolls Royce is sitting watching, please send me one. I don't mind a free one. But telling the right story is crucial.
Yeah, I think and what Hassan called out, if I would love people to go out there and the collection you talked about, Sajal Ali, Hadika Kiani, just watch the 30-second videos that you have made and the kind of message. I was truly inspired. I watched each one of them multiple times.
Thank you. Please do watch them. They're very important to us. The words were very carefully selected. We had a panel of consultants, and all the consultants were moms. And I made every mom listen to the words we were saying. And we use words that women chose to describe themselves at. And I cannot tell you that besides the fact that if it resonated or not, I feel it is probably out of the 30 years of my work, probably the most important thing I ever did, because it was a story that really connected to my heart. So if you do see it, please do let me know what you think.
Awesome. I'm going to ask a couple of more questions, then I'm going to open it up to other folks here and online. One thing that I want to know is that in the last few years, you have done dramas, you have done a movie, you have done more choreography.
I just did another movie. I just finished another movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how did that happen, and how is that changing your brand or your Darzi journey?
My Darzi journey is my Darzi journey, but my life journey is my life journey. I am obsessed with the idea that we are born limitless. None of us will be remembered as a designer or an architect or a philanthropist. We will just be remembered on our last day, as we always do. That was this person nice to me, and did he make me feel kind, and uska ikhlaq kaisa tha. अगर मेरी जिंदगी में मेरा इखलाक, मैं कोशिश करता हूँ अच्छा ही रहे और मेरी नीयत साफ रहे, तो मैं सिर्फ एक चीज क्यों करूँ? And I believe that when I do different things, it inspires other people to understand that they can too. Living a life that is fearless is so crucial. And the learning that you get is also tremendous. But साथ-साथ मैं एक businessman भी हूँ. यहाँ तक पहुँचने के लिए without investor and without any debt, आसान काम नहीं है, मगर I am a sharp boy. And I know how marketing works. And when you don't have the money to be able to tell a story on television, then you act on television because you're in their house every single week. Every Saturday, you're in their living room. And in the living rooms of the average viewership of a Pakistani network is 60 million and 90 million on PTV. खरीदने की कोशिश करें आप एक घंटे की advertising on Saturday, but you don't have to when you're acting. And if you're playing roles in which they resonate with, what you will see is a gradual increase of sales in your product. And if that doesn't work, then you do a talk show and you speak to every celebrity that there is, and you do an incredible talk show. And while they think it's about them, it's about you, because guess what it says behind you? You're reminded every once a week, HSY, kisse joda lena hai? Usse. And if that doesn't work, then you get onto a movie screen and you start jumping one horse to another and start punching the hero in his face because everyone loves the bad guy. And what happens? You increase your value of your brand. To be able to stay relevant, every brand needs to do things. If Apple could just sell itself, they would not have to make another ad. They literally have to recreate themselves every year and tell you that now not 14, but 15 le My 14 or 15 में technology नहीं आ सकती, तो हम लोग branding ही change कर लेते हैं. Because मेरा जोड़ा तो वही है ना जी, जैसे मैंने कहा, जोड़ा वही अच्छा लगता है जो हमारी नानी ने भी पहना था और परदादी ने पहना था. वही हसीन लाल जोड़ा कबाब का. I'm उसके अंदर मैं कितनी चीजें बदलूं, but I can change the way I sell it. I can change the way I stay relevant in with you.
Yeah.
My being here might not mean anything, but it will stay with you for at least a day. For you, some 15 minutes. That's 15 more minutes than I had before. This need to be able to connect to your people, to go and speak, to remind them of who we are and where we come from, is very much part and parcel of how I do my strategy. Ownership of myself as a brand and ownership of myself as a country is a great reminder to all of us. And with that reminder, they will retain. These are the things that I think brands then sometimes forget. And this all comes back from a place, like I mentioned, is humility. Our brands, especially in Pakistan, in our region, Juma Artin, and everyone thinks they're Coco Chanel, like they can't get over themselves. But the world also reacts in the same way. You vanish. What I do every day, you have to understand from my story, is a privilege. I get to come and see lights on and see it. I get to see beautiful people in front of me and I get to see it. I see colors and I see prints and I get to see it. I see that beautiful color of yellow. You might not have noticed it. I will come and see it and observe it endlessly because this opportunity was taken back from me. Now it's come back. So I don't take my job and my marketing not seriously. I will get up every single day and think of a new way to reinvent myself so I can live this dream that I do every day.
Amazing. And I think we all know entrepreneurs sitting out there, if you want free marketing, what do you need to do? Get a drama role, connect with Hassan. And I think he told Ahmed yesterday, he has a He's a drama actor face, so I'm gonna take that for free marketing.
एक कहावत है बड़ी सिंपल सी है, जंगल में मोर नाचा किसने देखा? पर मेरे जंग में बहुत रोशनी है, और अगर ना हो तो मैं रोशनी ऑन कर लेता हूँ, बिकॉज जो दिखता है वो बिकता है, मगर दिखाने की भी तरीके होते हैं. An entrepreneur, any entrepreneur out there should always understand that just don't rely on your product and product alone. I refuse to believe that a great product will continue to sell itself. It won't. A great service will not continue to sell itself. It won't. No one has that mind space, and no one is loyal to your brand after an X amount of time, because someone is going to come along and is going to do your product exactly, but better. You can't just keep on reinventing your product. You have to reinvent yourself, and you have to reinvent the ability and the way you sell it. If you don't have that, you're not लंबे दौर में घोड़े नहीं आप 5-10 साल ढेर सारे पैसे कमा लें, and then when you run out of ideas, then pretend like now I'm going to play golf, but that's just because you run out of ideas. Life is to be lived on a daily basis, and I think that if you can live the passion that you want and find a way to be able to keep selling it, I think that's where the joy lies.
Amazing. Because most of the people here are associated with technology one way or the other.
हमारे angel investors हैं.
Yeah, HSY finally are going to have investors. I would love to know, digitization की वजह से globalization has really picked up. How do you see your thought process change, or your fashion as a designer HSY change with this globalization and digitization?
Adaptability is key. If you do not adapt to your environment, you will be left out in the cold. We as a nation have no other choice at this moment but to adapt, because the changes are so rapid and they're coming at such a pace that we can do two things. Either we can sit in each other's drawing room and tear each other's favorite politicians down and stand at every rally and scream and yell, or we can do something about it in our own space. And in my own space, I knew that if I do not do a quick transformation on numbers and understand that there's a very large growing community that, because of television or etc., now knows my brand, but I have nothing to sell for them in their price point, and that the rich are also being careful in what they spend their money in because they're trying to save for a very rainy day that is here, I will lose out. Digitization, what it is doing is that it is opening up my brand to a lot of a much greater audience to be able to easily buy. Arif was saying that a lot of people say that we don't know HSY milta kahan se hai. सर मैं हैरान हूँ because Google तो आपके पास ही है, मगर बड़े लोग नहीं इस्तेमाल कर रहे हैं, तो हमें स्पेसेस चाहिए जहाँ हम ये अपना हमारे जो आउटफिट्स हैं उसको आप तक लेके आ सकें. But we also need smart partners. We need to also align ourselves with people who understand the potential. It is no doubt a $40 billion industry, but just modest fashion alone is growing at an insane amount of $8 billion a year. And the one community that is not doing anything about it are Muslims. From Dior to Balenciaga to you name it, to Nike. And they've made the burkini, but हमसे पाकिस्तान से एक हसीन बुर्का नहीं बनाया जा रहा. These are the kind of alignments now that we require. When the world talks about globalization, I'm not so for the word globalization. I feel that global citizen, global this, global that is something that was used a lot, but I think the world has changed. I think you need to act now also amongst your own community and where you have the finger on the pulse. A New York designer will never understand what my woman in Pakistan wants because he does not live her life on a daily basis, just like I will never understand what she wants here because I'm not on the streets of New York. Look at the brands that are always making a mark. Why is Sabyasachi Sabyasachi? Because he sells you India. He sells you what he authentically knows. Issey Miyake, he sells you what he authentically knows. When we are merging lines and trying to be making ourselves be good for everyone, I think is where we lose brand identity. I want to be able to use spaces like yourselves and business acumen like yourself to be able to create clothes for the woman that I do understand. The Muslim woman who wants to thrive and wants to be able to survive in this world while still retaining her identity, while still having her own moral fabric, and wants to have the right to look beautiful on every single day. Why should we take that away from her? And just what we have done now, even though these were, in my mind, solutions less for ready to wear, more for the women who cannot afford our clothes to be able to get married in, Our future solutions are going to be exactly that. And another reason why I'm also here is because I need to hear from you also of what the solutions are. I understand here there is a requirement to be able to dress a certain way. How is it that we can help you dress in that way while you still hold on to the identity that is your DNA, Pakistan? How can we do that? And what can we do to be able to bring that DNA to people who also, when they wear it, they recognize that they're not just wearing beautiful clothes, they're wearing beautiful clothes that hail from Pakistan. Less costume-esque, but still us. Now more than ever is the time to be able to rescue Pakistan, to be able to bring its identity out. And I know this sounds politicized, but we are politicized. And to be able to save the future of our country, this is what we need to do. And that is why I'm here. And I hope that these voices will go far and wide to be able to make some difference. Even a small dent in the right direction is good enough.
Amazing, beautiful. Looking for feedback. I'm gonna open up to for questions. So, yes.
Yes.
Yeah, so I have a question related to, now I see more and more of these big brands going towards practicewear. Because like we said in your talk, there's not even like the weeks that are moving down just based on inflation and the fact that the shadi halls sort of close around 10 p.m. and no one wants to spend that much. Is it something from the strategy perspective you're also looking into? You see growth for your brand in that space? The second question is around accessories. You did mention about bringing Pakistan to opening it up globally and associating it with your brand. I do think there's a lot of potential in something that's authentic and that's Pakistan. You see, like the days I wear my workplace, everyone's intrigued. The way I wear the day I wear all everyone's like, oh my God, get this thing. So are those things running through your mind in terms of when you think about growth in your brand?
Thank you for those wonderful questions, and bravo to you for wearing pashminas. I love pashminas and kusas, and I believe accessories are very important. But what's more important is manufacturing. If your production and scaling ability process is not great, then don't step into it. If you don't have the ability to understand what the manufacturing process is, don't step into it. I know a lot of people say outsource here and outsource there. I don't believe in that at all. I think you should always cover your strengths first. And that is what I've tried to do. But I have, for the last two and a half years, been working on shoes. I believe that what Pakistan has is a strength in leather that other countries do not. And even though there are great companies out there like Jaffer Cheese, etc., who are making great accessories and bags, we are not focusing on shoes, and the shoe market is tremendous. So you will be seeing our first line of shoes come out, inshallah, this Eid for men, and then in September for women. As far as spacing is concerned, देखिए शादी चाहे 10 बजे तक हो या 8 से 8:15 हो, जोड़ा महंगा ही होना है, उसकी आप फिक्र ना करें. वो उन्होंने वही पहनना है जो उनको है, because now shadis are less about the space, more about how it looks on Instagram. So people are going to wear what that is. That is not the reason that a lot of designers have gone into ready-to-wear. They've gone into ready-to-wear because our people's minds are open with information like they've never been done before. A woman in Jacobabad had no idea HSY existed 15 years ago because she didn't even know what was happening. But she's got the Instagram just like you have the Instagram, because that's what the Instagram pe dekha tha. So what's the Instagram ke upar? She's watching everything and she's aware. And she is not going to like the fact that there's something out of that collection that she cannot wear, because she is very much part and parcel of the same fabric that I am. As a designer who is not doing ready-to-wear and is not understanding that market, is doing themselves a disservice. Staying in the luxury market, however, is important to me because I am a luxury brand. I live and breathe a certain lifestyle authentically that I sell. To be able to create the variation between the two is where the trick is. A lot of designers have decided to do both and have usually succeeded in one. Either their ready-to-wear becomes incredible and then you no longer see their bridal and couture anywhere, or their bridal and couture keeps saving everyone, but no one likes that anymore. The key here is what my strength is. Branding. If you can understand how to brand and change the identity, one designer can do many things. The great Karl Lagerfeld was the creative designer for Fendi, for Karl Lagerfeld, Chanel, Lufthansa, a paper brand, and was one person and could do it all. That's the magic of being human. Allah has made us limitless. It is just how you tell that story. So yes, I applaud all the brands that are doing ready-to-wear, as am I. But you will find that the ones who will be successful in doing businesses for both will be the ones who will be able to create a clear identity difference between the two. And the great part about humanity is there are so many stories to tell. And there's so many stories that you can create literally 20 brands of just if we were to share 20 stories, we'll create 20 brands right here. So I'm excited for that journey, but I'm also wanting to leave a legacy. I do my part in whatever way I can to be able to assist. I help run a free school for the deaf and the blind and the paraplegic. I understand the plight of people not being able to see. So it gives me great joy to be able to understand that because your hearing becomes so incredibly sharp, painfully sharp, when you can't see, that you can sense someone's inhibition, a sense of sympathy or empathy in just the way they breathe. I work with these incredible students and we create lines, and those lines turn into patterns that you wear in your big lawn prints that you don't even know that a blind child has actually made it. And we empower these people to be able to become self-sufficient, no longer a burden, but actually the provider. I want to be able to use all of these strategies to be able to not just empower my brand, but empower those who need us to empower them. I have a feeling that we will be okay. I'm looking forward to it.
Cool, amazing.
So, how far do you think Pakistan is in opening up a cultural center like Ambani have achieved that? Do you think we'll ever get there?
Particularly the Ambanis, no? The Ambanis are wonderful, and I'm so happy for them. And there are wonderful families in Pakistan too that are doing tremendous work. You know, it is unfortunate, and I रोती नहीं रो रहा. हमारे मुल्क में कोई अच्छी चीज हो भी रही हो ना तो पूरा बुरी चीज का तो शोर होता है कि मैं पता ही नहीं चलता कि हो क्या रहा है. और हमारे हाँ लोगों को बुलाना कोशिश कर लें आप निक जोनस को बुलाने की वहाँ एक बड़ी प्रॉब्लम है तो वहाँ उस वक्त जहाँ फंस जाते हैं. But I want to tell you this because my sister lives abroad and my sister has tons of opinions on Pakistan, but I always tell her that that's great, but you don't live and breathe that and smell that mitti. I do every single day. And when you are there, you see the things that are happening. This school that, for example, there's no support for it. A wonderful woman called Ronak Lakhani and this incredible man called Amin Hashwani, and we get together and we put our heads together and we call up the CEOs of different companies and हमारे जो बच्चे जो चल नहीं सकते उनके हम रिक्शे लेते हैं. सो आपको फोन करेंगे, सासगढ़ को फोन करेंगे और रिक्शों को चेंज करके हमारे पास ले आएंगे. हम लिटरली डील्स करेंगे टू द माफिया ऑन द स्ट्रीट्स कि यार चार तुम अपने रिक्शे यहाँ लेके आओ. पेप्सी की सीईओ से बात करेंगे. There's so much happening constantly in Pakistan, which is of such great effort that it doesn't come to light. Even when it comes to okaying spaces like the design center, there's the land that has been allocated to the design center by every single government that has come. And when I say every single government, I don't want to say get politicized, but literally every single one of them has promised it. And no one has done it. So, unfortunately, बहुत हमारे steps हैं जो हम आगे लेके सकते नहीं हैं. But private sector के अंदर, the amount of work that is happening now more than ever is tremendous. Having lived here and having traveled, and I do travel a lot, people ask me where I live, and I say usually in row 3 or 4. I'm always in the plane, constantly traveling, and I've never seen the kind of compassion and philanthropy that I see in Pakistan. I think our day will come when the world will also notice and see the things that are happening, and we can do those kind of cultural spaces. But we don't have a free playing hand like India does right now. And I don't think that will hold us back, but I think it will just delay us a little.
Hopefully so.
No. आप आएंगी?
Ready. So we are ready to take a last question.
Okay. Yes.
So
So here in the States, we have a business, we kind of have to adapt to the culture here while we still retain our values. And hard, like how do you know, how do you retain your own values while still being relevant to people here? Here you're not just interacting with Pakistan, you kind of have to be relevant to all people.
the community in Seattle has surprised me a little because I find that they have assimilated far more. Pakistanis tend to, in my opinion, they find it hard to assimilate. Pakistanis become even more Pakistani together, and वो communities बना लेते हैं, वो assimilate नहीं करते. जिसकी वजह से हम और भी outsider लगते हैं, इसके निस्बत ही insider लगे. हमारे partnering, हमारे जो neighboring country, and they're much far better at that. But if you notice that, not to compare ourselves with them, they're also, because they have assimilated and have a certain sense of that okayness to assimilate, they bring a lot of themselves to the space. They might dress like yours, but they'll have the nose ring, they'll have the henna in their hair, they'll do things that will be themselves. I think owning your identity is never a bad thing. I'm walking around in a country that I'm sure will not appreciate me wearing a Palestinianly inspired fabric, but I appreciate and enjoy the things that I do. I will meet people in a way that I feel is kind, but I will never shy away from what is it I feel that is important to me, even if it means how I dress. But the Seattle community seems a little different to me. I think people here seem far more assimilated and culturally inclined. But then over here, no offense to everyone here, everyone is wonderful, but मुझे यहाँ का fashion भी इतना नजर नहीं आता. Tech के सारे लोग, they all walk around like they're wearing Lululemon and about to go do yoga. You know, a man. I mean, I went to Microsoft and I went to Amazon. I thought maybe it's an off day and maybe there's a picnic. I mean, literally everyone is so dressed down. So यहाँ का आपको culture क्या लेके आना है? आपको तो बस एक, you need a gym bag and some sneakers and you're good to go. But because you guys are changing the way the world is working, I can't possibly complain. I mean, today I see color, it's amazing. I even see, like, I walked and I saw Valentino shoes, and I was like, what? No sneakers. Great. I wore sneakers today because I was almost embarrassed to wear shoes. So I guess it's also the space. But I do feel that here, you guys are at a great advantage. The tech space is inhabited by so many people from Pakistan who have come here with smarts rather than just labor. They've come with technology and an understanding that is sort of required. Please be our ambassadors and put our culture and fashion out there as well. Call us. Let us show people here what is it that we could do. Not just in the way that we speak, because unfortunately not everyone has the ability to speak. I'm lucky that I was brought up in a house where someone was always either yelling at me or so I just learned how to speak and defend myself. But we need more of those representations. And I was even speaking to Arif, even the voice that Lam is making. I think it's very brave of him to be able to step away from a land of certainty like Amazon and Microsoft and Facebook, and to step into a land of complete uncertainty, which is the landscape of technology in Pakistan today. But with all of this bravery also should come great strategy of not just being able to bring the clothes to the rest of the world, but bring our stories to them.
Yeah.
And have our very own people. I went to Amazon, I met a gentleman there who is one of the big boys there. I was at Microsoft and I was surprised to know that the Pakistani hire bhi kiya hua hai. Main to khush tha. ये तो कमाल है. You know, because when you think Pakistani here, you think taxi driver 7-Eleven. That's it. This is great. Clearly, I'm not knowledgeable. But I also hope that we can all collectively do things in which we tell the right stories about this great nation of ours.
Cool. Thank you so much. This is the first time Hassan is here in Seattle, and we were talking on our way, and he was talking about Seattle is so different from everywhere else he has been.
People are very kind. I used to live in New York. People are like, the people talk back to you when they give you their coffee. Uh, They don't just, I mean, it's very different.
Yes, I would like to thank Open for hosting this event, educative, for the.
David, thank you for having us and thank you for this. And also thank you to all of you. I'm at the end of the day, literally, I'm a lucky guy who makes clothes and I'm the Zenith's kind of you to even take our time to come. And it is this appreciation that only that comes from the heart. This audience reminds me that 30 years of my life have not been a mistake, that I've obviously been on the right path to follow my dreams. And I hope that you guys will do the same for our next generation of Pakistanis to be able to follow their dreams and be entrepreneurs in a world that is changing so fast and so rapidly with technology. With 2030 on our they say technology will change faster from 2020 to 2030 than it did from 1985 to 2020. Many of our jobs in our country, like doctors and engineers, will be not important anymore. We will need to be able to raise entrepreneurs. The only future is entrepreneurs. And for entrepreneurs to really strive, we need people like yourselves to be able to let them know that ideas are a good thing.
Cool. Thank you so much. There's another gonna be there. So please,
Yes, yes.
Still, this is
Thank you.